Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you happen to be located. Thank you very much for taking time out to spend it with us. My name is Les Allen. I'm part of, many teams here at Alchemex, but today I'm putting on my training cap, taking you through Peachtree Business Intelligence. This is the first in a series of presentations that we're going to be doing, which will take you from the ground up, from the very basic concepts all the way through to some pretty decent report writing skills. This is the first session, so we're breaking these up into a couple of different levels. I'll talk about those in just a few moments. But again, thank you very much for taking time out to join us. Just to run through, if you've never joined us for a webinar before, just to let you know exactly how we do participation in this particular session. Your screens will be updating now. You have a GoToWebinar interface. Now, you'll be able to collapse that interface. You don't have to have it open during the entire presentation. You'll be able to press the orange arrow to collapse the window, then just press the orange arrow again to open up the window. But the more important thing is the questions area. Over the course of the webinar, all of the microphones are turned off. So if you do have a microphone, everything's going to be turned off, just in case there's the chance of crosstalk. If you do have any particular questions, please send them through on the questions window. Okay, type your questions in, send them through. I can see the questions as they come through. If a question is relevant at the point of the presentation, I'll handle the question during the process. Otherwise, I'll hold off other questions to the end of the presentation and then address them in a brief Q&A session when we get close to the top of the hour. All right. Also, this particular webinar is being recorded, so you will receive a link within the next 24 hours where you can download this video. You can then play it. It's a standard Windows media format file. Because you've logged into GoToWebinar, you have the video codec. So on your machine, you'll be able to watch that video, no problems. When you get the link, you'll also get the link to download the codec, just in case you'd like to share it with anybody else in your organization, any staff, etc. You'll be able to let them take a look at the video and see exactly what we did during this hour presentation. You can prove to them you were actually working and learning something. So that's how to participate. Send through questions, please. Any particular questions that hit your mind, feel free to send them through. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Actually, before I continue on with that, webinar recordings. This link, I'll be returning to this slide at the end of the presentation, so you don't have to write down these details now. As I said, we will be sending you through a link. But on the community.alchemex.com website, we have a number of recorded webinars on various topics that we've touched on previously over the last 12 months. We have webinar topics on Excel, how to use Excel to create pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, those sorts of things. How to start using the report manager, how to start running the report manager, running your reports, updating your reports. There's a wealth of information on this website. So I do encourage you to go to the website, sign up. You can even choose to track particular topics or particular conversations. So if any change has been made, you'll receive an email to let you know there's new content there. You might want to go and have a look. So community.alchemex.com/group/Alchemex webinars. There's a library there of previous topics. Feel free to help yourself. All of the content there is free. Right. Now, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, first thing that we're going to talk about is just a bit of an overview as far as what Peachtree Business Intelligence is about. We're going to have a talk about exactly what the term business intelligence means as well. So we're going to go through what business intelligence means, then what the module actually does for you and how you can start using it. Then we're going to demonstrate how to run the standard reports. We give you a number of reports out of the box that you can start running straight away. And it's an important thing for customers to be aware of because we start talking about return on investment at this point. They've spent some money on this module. This module now provides them with reports that they can start running straight away that may have taken them a couple of hours or a couple of days to create, particularly in the case of financials. So we'll show you how to run the standard reports. Then we'll start through the process of how to start modifying your own reports. So we're going to take the existing reports that we give you, we're going to make a copy, then we're going to demonstrate how we can change these so people can start altering the reports and getting the information they'd like to see in the format they desire. Talk about running the financial reports, which is pretty important because it's basically the most important report inside of an organization. If you don't know what your finances are doing, it's very tough to know where your business is heading. We'll show you how to run the financial report. Then we'll take a look at editing the layouts, how you can change things around. And then we'll talk about one of the functions inside of the financial report called changing months, which allows you to drill down to specific information by month. So we'll show you how to run the financial report and how to change options there. As I said, we're taking this right from the start. So baby steps first, show you everything the module can do, run it through, and then as we proceed through these particular sessions, we'll be adding more and more skills for you. Just a reminder about future webinars that we're going to be doing, future topics as far as this learning program is concerned. 23rd of March, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, that actually should be. Level 1, Session 2, then we'll be moving on to more advanced report writing through our Level 2 sessions. There are 3 sessions there, so we'll take you from the basics, from the ground up, into more advanced report writing. All right. So, what are we talking about now? Let's talk about exactly what business intelligence means. So I'm going to bring up Peachtree on my screen. There's actually something very interesting on the Peachtree landing page that relates to what business intelligence is about. If you were to define business intelligence is actually a process. It's not software. You often find that there's new catchphrases, there's new terms floating up inside of, especially inside of IT, new buzzwords, the new fandangled thing. Business intelligence has been adopted as one of those, but really business intelligence comes down to 3 things. It refers to the collection of data. It then refers to looking at that data, analyzing trends and patterns. Once you've analyzed that trend, that pattern, that meaning inside of that data, business intelligence, 3rd step, is to make a business decision. To make a decision around the information that you've analyzed. But it's an important point to understand that business intelligence doesn't have to be software. If you turn around and ask a staff member, how many pens do we have in stock? That's business intelligence because it conforms to the 1st step. I've gathered information. The moment your staff member says, we have 10 black pens in stock, you then analyze that. Is 10 black pens going to be enough for me for the next 3 months, for the next month, until I do another stationery order? Then you make a business decision. Do I order more pens? Do I add a particular order in for anything? That process conforms to business intelligence terms. Question has come through in relation to what version of Peachtree Quantum am I running? About Peachtree Accounting. I'm running a build that does have the business intelligence module added in. So if it's not something that you've got on your version, we'll need to have a chat after the presentation and we can get you in touch with the appropriate Peachtree rep so we can go through and say exactly what's happening for you. But the details of the version that I'm running are actually on the screen there. Okay. Jennifer's also sent through that she doesn't have it, so if you don't have it, please send me through those details and I'll be able to get you in contact with the appropriate person at Peachtree and they can start helping you get on your way. So, business intelligence is a process. It isn't just software. Business intelligence software helps with the first 2 steps. It helps with the gathering of the information. Being able to run a report, pull that information into Excel, that's step 1, gathering the information that you need. It's already in your Peachtree database. You just need to get your hands on it. So, Peachtree Business Intelligence helps with that first step, that we're going to gather that information for you and bring it into Excel. The second part, analyzing that information for trends and patterns. We give you a number of reports to start with. You don't have to have very strong Excel skills, and during the course of this these learning sessions, we'll be helping you with your Excel skills, start moving them up. You don't have to have very strong Excel skills to reorganize some data, to make a chart, to make a pivot table. Those functions move towards the analyzing the information for trends, patterns, and meaning. So we're going to make it very, very easy for you to make the business decision. So software, business intelligence software is not business intelligence itself, but it does help you with those particular processes. Right. So Business Intelligence, Peachtree Business Intelligence, one of the things that's going to be made you need to be aware of is that when the module is purchased and installed, it becomes part of the Reports and Forms menu. Mitchell's just clarified as users, they've got Quantum 2011. The 2012 version that I have won't be available until the summer. So probably the May release, that's when Peachtree Business Intelligence is being launched to the channel. So Mitchell, thank you very much for clarifying that. Reports and Forms. Business Intelligence Setup is now part of the Reports and Forms menu, so it's very, very easy to access. Now you'll see there are a number of modules that are available. We're going to be concentrating on the Report Manager module, but the documents that you've received, if you haven't received them, please let me know and we'll send you the documents out. You should have received an overview of Peachtree Business Intelligence, plus some exercises that you'll be able to do from the completion of this course. As we said, we're recording this, so you'll be able to download the video, refer to it as you work through the exercises. Just a brief overview of these modules. The Report Manager module is the one we're going to be playing with today, and it's the one responsible for setting up reports, running the reports, and altering the Excel layouts. The Connector module is more related to connecting to multiple Peachtree databases, even connecting to databases outside of Peachtree. So if a customer has a HR program or maybe Sage CRM, something along those lines, you can use the Connector module to connect to those databases, bringing information in and pasting it alongside your Peachtree information. So now you can have a comprehensive view of all aspects of your business. The Security and the License Manager. The Security Manager is responsible for who has access to which reports. It's kind of necessary in this day and age. And the License Manager, obviously, who is going to be given which particular licenses depending on what modules you buy. I'm going to launch the Report Manager and give you a brief overview of the Report Manager layout. When your screens update, you'll see on the left-hand side that I have a folder structure very much similar to Windows Explorer. Good time to point out that you cannot have folders inside of folders. These folders that you see there all contain reports. If I double-click on Sales, you'll see that I have a Sales Analysis report. As I mentioned, we give you a number of reports to start with. If you don't like them, I'm going to show you how you can change them. So from Sales, Sales Analysis, Purchases, Financials, and a Dashboard. So these are the reports that we give you to start. The numbers at the end of the reports just show you the version number of the report itself. Won't mean a lot for most users, so you can ignore those numbers. A dashboard report. The principle of a dashboard report is combining multiple pieces of information and putting it all on the one sheet. If you think about maybe a crystal report that looks at your financials or a crystal report that looks at your sales, it's very hard to have one crystal report that can show that information side by side. A dashboard report, that's effectively what we're looking at. Different areas of information from different areas of the business put together onto one sheet. So, a dashboard, we'll go through the dashboard report shortly so I can see you exactly what information you can see. Financial reports, purchases, and sales. An important point to note, I've selected the Sales Analysis report and you'll see certain details appear on the right-hand side. The right-hand side, it says that this report is locked. If you would like to edit it, please feel free to make a copy of it. You can then change the copy. So our standard reports that we give you, we like to lock them down so we know exactly what you should be getting. But you are free to customize them by making copies of reports. To run a report is a very, very simple process. I'm going to select that Dashboard Analysis report and I'm going to right-click. All of the menu options in Peachtree Business Intelligence can also be accessed by right-clicking on a report. So you don't need to relearn a different menu structure. It's all there as part of a right-click. You have the option to run the report here, but you also have the option to run it from the toolbar. You'll see a green play icon. Anybody who's worked a VCR, a DVD player, an iPod, etc. know exactly the sort of button I'm talking about. My mouse is hovering over it now. I'm going to select that button, Now, by default, this report has certain parameters that you can change every time you run the report. So, what particular fiscal year would I like to run it for? I'd like to run it for 2010. Which particular budget would I like to view? I'd like to use my budget information. The financial year start date, give me everything greater than or equal to this particular date. And my current month end, I'm going to change that to March 2010. So my financial year start date, that was the start of this year, 2010. And there we go. Now, when I click OK, this report will go into my Peachtree database. It will then pull out all of the information necessary to create this particular report. Let me actually go through and look at a lot of information. I'm going to bring through everything for the 2010 year. Now, the information is going to be extracted from Peachtree and it's going to be delivered into Microsoft Excel. We give you a standard format, but you are very free to change that format in any way. Lisa sent through a question, did I need to know the exact name of the budget or was there a way to select it? Lisa, there's a browse button on the report. Let me actually switch back into my report manager and I'll demonstrate it for you. I'm going to rerun the report just to bring up that parameters window. So your screens are refreshing now. You'll see that next to each of those parameters, there's a browse box, 3 dots, which is an ellipsis. You can press that browse box and it then gives you the options. So next to budget name, you'll see there's a browse button. I can select the browse button, goes back to the database and brings me back the values from my Peachtree database. So I can then choose the budget type that I want. I hope that answers the question, Lisa. Any questions, any further queries about that, please send them through. So now let's take a look at the raw data, well, the information that's brought through as far as my dashboard layout is concerned. Here I can see profit and loss information. My profit and loss information, sales information, there was my budget information, gross profit information, my top 5 expenses. This gives you an example of what a dashboard report is about. I can create multiple sheets inside of a workbook, each of them looking at different information from my Peachtree database. So here I can see profit and loss information alongside expenses information. Now I'm going to rerun this report because I've got no sales information coming through. So let me close this report off, and it's a good point here to remind you that this is now an Excel file. All of the raw data has come in. I can save this file. I can email it to other people. It becomes a self-contained report. A lot of customers who use Crystal reports like to take a static Crystal report and export it into Excel because they'd like to play with that information. They'd like to move that information around a little bit. You can do that, absolutely, using one of these particular reports. I'm going to close this report down and move back to my report manager because I'd like to highlight a certain point here. When your screen updates, you'll see that I've gone back to my report manager window. On the right-hand side with the properties, the last box there, I've highlighted the text there. That's the report template that this particular report uses. Jennifer sent through, all of the sheets resulted from the export. Absolutely. During the, I believe it'll be next session, level 2, where we start creating our own reports from scratch. Jennifer will show you exactly how the report runs out. There's a lot of raw data. And then we can create multiple sheets that look at that set of data. So how many different sheets do you want to create? How many different ways do you want to see that data? Excel workbooks can effectively have an unlimited number of sheets. There is a limit, but it's not a very practical one. You can have multiple sheets looking at the same information in multiple ways. So yes, all of the sheets that we're going to show you in this report comes from the exported data that's been placed in the workbook. So let's have a look at that dashboard analysis report again. Let me do my fiscal year 2011. There we go. That's probably the reason why I wasn't having much luck with my data. Okay, so as your screen updates, you'll see that I've gone through a couple of options as far as my report parameters are concerned. My financial year start date, I'm going to make that January 1st, 2011. So now I'm going to be rerunning my report. When I rerun this report, it becomes its own Excel file once again. While the report's running, I'm going to talk about different versions of Excel. I'm working with Excel 2010. If you have Excel 2003 or 2007, you're still fine, even if you have Excel 2000. Peachtree Business Intelligence works from Excel 2000 upwards. However, it would be my sincere recommendation that you should look at upgrading to Excel 2010 as soon as possible. During the course of the presentations, we'll be showing you different functionality that's available in Excel 2010 that can make for really, really powerful reports. At minimum, get a hold of Excel 2007, but they're currently retailing 2010. So now that your screen's update, we're looking at a heck of a lot more information now. So there's my sales information for March. Sales, cost of sales information. There are my top 5 expenses, top 5 customers, top 5 customer groups. Justin sent through a question about the connectors. Does the connector work for all versions of Excel? Justin, the connector doesn't really have anything to do with Excel itself. The connector deals with connecting to databases and choosing which information I'd like to be made available for the report manager. But we'll talk about that more in a later session. So here is my dashboard with charts. I can scroll down. There's my top 5 customers, top 5 items, and bottom 5 items. Diane sent through, I have Office 2010, but when I start the BI, I get an error that says I must have 2003 or greater. When I click OK, it closes and returns to Peachtree. Diane, we'll have to take that up. That's more of a troubleshooting question. We'll get onto that at the end of the presentation. But thanks very much for sending that through. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at our top 5 customers, top 5 items, bottom 5 items, plus charts. You'll see across the bottom of the workbook that there are a number of sheets here. There's a chart data sheet, there's an instruction sheet, etc. That reiterates the point that you can have multiple sheets in a workbook that are all looking at the same set of data or reorganizing data for you so that you can create better business intelligence reports. And these are numbers that we can start playing with. What I'd also like to draw your attention to is Armstrong Landscaping. I've just selected cell E23. Armstrong Landscaping, that's the year-to-date total for them so far, and they're my top customer. They're currently giving me 37.5% of my overall sales. But that's just a total. If I wanted to see the detail inside of this, I can use a drill down option. Drill downs, we provide drill downs for some of the reports, but you are capable of creating your own drill downs as well. When you install Peachtree Business Intelligence, you get an additional tab either on your ribbon or as a menu option. So I'm going to select the Add-ins tab from my ribbon. You'll see it at the top of the screen. The Add-ins tab then gives me a number of report tools. One of these reporting tools is a drill down option. And as I said, you can create your own drill downs. Later on, we'll be talking about how we can start creating reports that consolidate information. We can use a drill down to take that consolidated information, go back to Peachtree, and pull through all of the transactions that made up that particular figure. Right now, with our dashboard report, I have a drill down option. There are a couple configured already for me. When your screens update, you'll see that select drill down window. We've got 2 set up for you. One is by item, one is by customer. Because I'm looking at Armstrong Landscaping, I'm going to be using my select by customer drill down. What this is going to do is run a sub-report, which is going to go back and grab all of the transactions that make up that $43,000 number. Let me hit the execute button. The pop-up window that you'll see on your screen shortly will list all of the transactions in its own window But you can then get this window exported to Excel so you can start playing more with that actual data. So on your screen, you see there's a number of transactions with the gross profit, item type, there's the customer name, etc. So I have a wealth of information available to me. I even have the item description. So that total $43,000 number, I can now see exactly what transactions went into making that up. And this is what we're talking about as far as business intelligence. We've gathered the data, we've put it together for you, but then you want to see the trends and patterns inside of that data. Is all of that $43,000 from one invoice? Are they buying one particular type of product? Now we make it easier for you to get that information back out so you can assess it and then make a business decision. So drill downs, standard functionality in some of the reports that we give you, but as I said, you can create your own drill downs, and we'll talk about that more later on in the courses. So let me close off the analysis report, and then I'm going to take a look at how we can start editing some of the reports. I'm going to take the sales analysis report and look at what options are available there. Then we're going to look at customizing that particular report. As I explained earlier, all of the standard reports, or most of the standard reports, come with a lock. So you're not able to adjust that specific report, but if you make a copy of it, you can then make adjustments to that, so you can customize your own reports. So I'm going to run this sales analysis report. This particular report is going to be asking for a date range as well. I'd like to see all of my sales information for 2011. So from the 1st of January all the way through to the end. So I'm going to quickly populate those dates. And then let everybody's screens update so that they can see the values that I've added in. Randy sent through the question, how many standard reports are there? Randy, we give you financial reports, we give you one dashboard analysis report, a purchases report, and a sales analysis report. So the financial report that you see there, dashboards, purchases, and sales. That's what we do to start. But in the next session that we're going to be doing next week, we'll talk about how we can start creating, I believe it might even be in 2 weeks' time, we're going to start creating our own reports based off the information that these reports make available for us. But I'll talk more about those concepts when we get there. Tammy sent through, could I have simply typed in the date range? Absolutely, very much so. Also, is there, let me just get to the rest of the question. Also, is there a set format for the date, or is it based on your Windows regional settings? It's based on the Windows regional settings, Tammy. We like to have it date, full month name, and then the year. That's why sometimes it's easier to browse through to the calendar, so it saves you typing. When we talk about creating our own reports later on, we'll also show you how we can have these dates automatically entered using a couple of other functions. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me run this sales report on. Again, it's going back to my Peachtree database, extracting the sales information and bringing it through onto an Excel worksheet. I then have other worksheets that reorganize that information. When your screen updates, you'll be looking at my sales report. What you're actually looking at is what's called a pivot table. Pivot tables are standard Excel functionality. Pivot tables let you take a table of information and reorganize it, drill down on it, drag the information around to create different views, different dimensions effectively, so you can see your business from a multitude of ways. Let me zoom in and you can see a little bit more as far as the detail that we can drill down on. This particular report, I can drill down by item ID, I can drill down by the line description, the customer ID, or even the sales rep. If I click the drop-down arrow at the sales rep, I can select a specific sales rep. This will then be applied as a filter, which will adjust all of the information in the pivot table. So I can drill down to see exactly what Dorothy is doing. So I've selected Dorothy from that filter list. I click OK, and you'll see that Dorothy's only sold to one customer. My table has been adjusted, filtering the information to show only what Dorothy has sold. I can use a pivot table to select multiple values so I can see a number of sales reps at a time. But also transaction type, show me all my credit notes, show me all of my sales orders, etc., etc. Pivot tables allow you to drill down on one table worth of information to make it easy for you to assess trends, patterns, and meaning in this data. Reiterating again to the concept of business intelligence, we're making it easier for you to make a business decision. Now, this particular pivot table also has a number of other pieces of information that you can bring through into it. And again, just like to remind you, this is an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to make changes to this spreadsheet, you can, and this is how we can do it. Pivot tables are available as far as Excel 2003 is concerned, 2007, and 2010. Pivot tables are very, very powerful. Contextual menus in Excel 2007 and 2010. I have my pivot table tools menu. I'm going to have a look at the field list and see what other information is available. So when your screen updates, you'll now see that there's a field list over on the right-hand side with a number of additional fields that aren't actually being shown in this particular report. One of them is the customer invoice number. I'd like to see that, please. By putting a tick in there, your screens will update now. You'll now see that column C is populated with invoice numbers. A lot of them are actually blank. Oh, there we go. So I'm just scrolled down to highlight that this particular customer, this particular line description, there was the invoice. There's the invoice number for that particular invoice for that particular product. So you can add additional information into the table. You don't have to stay with the things that we offer you. Now, other options there. I can see that freight amount is one of the fields that is available. I don't necessarily want to see freight amount. Is there a way to hide zeros? Yes, there is, Jennifer. We can hide zeros as well. Now, actually, there's a number of ways that we can actually skin that cat. Hide zeros, we do have an option in our add-ins that lets you look at an entire column, and any zero that is in that column, that row will then be hidden away. Hiding zeros in pivot tables, that's really going to depend on the structure of the pivot table itself. It depends on how you're viewing your data. But yes, we can hide zeros. There's a couple of ways to do it. You'll see down in the bottom right-hand corner, in values, I've got my mouse hovered over freight. I don't want to see freight in my report. So I'm simply going to drag it and move it out of my pivot table. Your screens are going to be updating now. You'll see that the freight column has now been collapsed. It's not there. When you review the video, you'll see exactly what I did to drag that field out. We'll be talking about pivot tables more later on in the course. But for now, I've made the adjustments to my report. I could insert my own company logo. I could change the color scheme here of the pivot table to match my company's color schemes. Now I'm going to be moving back to my report manager and saving this as my template. Randy sent through, how much training do you provide for end users and how proficient do they need to be in Excel? Randy, multifaceted question there. How much training do we provide? We provide extensive training through the Sage University website. I also believe that Carla Caldwell, one of the Peachtree trainers, will be offering Excel training. We provide discovering courses, which is that's taking you from knowing a little bit about Excel to becoming proficient. And then we have a number of courses called Excel on Steroids. These are advanced report writing Excel courses. They don't cover everything in Excel, but what they do cover is functionality that's important to creating good business intelligence reports. Functions like VLOOKUP, pivot tables, how to run a macro, how to sort, those sorts of functions. So we do have a number of courses available. How proficient do customers need to be? That's dependent on what they want to do. If you have more Excel skills, obviously you'll be able to do greater things. But a business partner can create a report for a customer and then send that report to them. If a business partner creates a report using pivot tables, then it's very easy for the customer to use it. They don't really need to have Excel skills. But again, even just basic Excel skills like knowing how to set up a table or knowing how to set up a chart, they can create fantastic reports. So I've made my changes here to this particular report. What I'd like to do is save them. I'm moving back to my Report Manager module. Properties side, it says if I can unlock this report by making a copy of it. The copy will be unlocked and I can make my changes there. To copy a report is very, very simple. I right-click on the report that I'm interested in and I move down to select Copy. When I select Copy, I can then paste that into another folder. I already have a folder set up, but I'm going to demonstrate how you can create another folder. We'll be talking about that more when we do our report creation sessions. I'm going to right-click on Home and select the Add Folder option. Give my folder a name. I'm going to call it my PBI demo. Not very imaginative. I apologize. There's my PBI folder. For those eagle-eyed seeing that PBI is now at the top of the menu, once you refresh, once you close out or come back in or refresh the folder view, it'll be resorted alphabetically. Going to right-click on PBI and I'm going to paste. And it's that simple to create a copy of the report. Right-click on a report, copy, right-click and paste. Now that I've pasted that report, if I select it, you'll see over on the right-hand side that I now have access to all of the properties, parameters, filters, all of the functionality of this report. Tammy sent through, does it matter that you didn't copy the report before tailoring the Excel report? Tammy, actually that doesn't matter. Is there a proper way to do it? It doesn't really matter. I could have copied the sales analysis report first, pasted it, then ran it, or I could run the original, then copy the report, then customize my Excel. There's no real proper way to do it. The only thing to be aware of is that this next step that I'm about to do, where I want to link this Excel file back, I must have a copy before I do this process. So at any point that you choose to do the copy, that's fine, as long as it happens before this next step. And the next step involves right-clicking on my copied report and going down to Create and Link Template. Remember earlier in the demonstration that I showed that every report can have a template. The template will hold the structure of the report. It won't worry about maintaining the data. It will hold the structure. So when you create multiple sheets with charts and pivot tables and various formats, they'll stay and they'll await raw data to come in the next time the report is run. So what I'm about to do with this create and link, I'm updating the template for this report. You'll see over in the parameter side, that last box there, my report template has come across. I've made a copy of that as well, just by doing the copy and paste of the report. I'm now going to update that template with the changes that I made. When I select Create and Link Template, I then get a window showing me all of the Excel files that are currently open. I'm going to select Sales Analysis. That's the Excel file I currently have open, and I'm going to click OK. A couple of questions. As we do our report creation process, these will become apparent as to what the parameter sheet means, etc. What this is doing is just asking me to clear out certain information so that it can be ready to accept new information the next time the report runs. What name would I like to give this particular template? I want to overwrite the previous one, so I'm just going to save it with the same name. It tells me this template already exists. Do you still want to do this? Absolutely. Now, my screen will flash very, very quickly. You'll be able to see it on the video that all of the raw data was deleted, but the structure of the pivot table stayed. The pivot table was effectively empty, but the structure of the pivot table stayed. To show you that, I'm going to select the report, and I'm going to go into design mode. We're going to cover design mode later when we do our report creation process, but I can right-click on this report and go into design mode, what this will do is it will open that template file without bringing in any data. So I can look at the structures and I can change formatting and I can change things around without having to run the report out. If I go into design mode, your screen will update. You'll see that my pivot table is empty. The fields are there waiting to be repopulated. The headings are there, etc. But more importantly, column C, that invoice number that I added, which didn't take a lot for me to do, I simply dragged the field in, created a linked template, I made one change, it is now here as part of this report. So you can take one report, copy, paste it, and on each of them, you can change the information that's being represented and demonstrated. It's a very simple process to start modifying your own reports. So that's creating and linking templates. Now we're going to take a look at the financials. So running the financial report, then having a look at how we might be able to change it around. The financial report that we give you may not meet everybody's needs. People tend to be very, very specific when it comes to the financials. They want to see certain things in certain ways. So I'm going to select the financial report. I'm going to run it. Now, again, this is an Excel file that we're going to be generating. Financial year, I want it to be for 1st of January. 2011 is the financial year. That's the one that I want. The budget that I would like my budget amount. If your screens aren't updating, it's okay. You'll be able to check the video. The video happens in real time. So everything that I'm clicking, you'll be able to review. So for 2011, budget, I click OK. The financial information we brought into Excel, into this specific report, when your screen updates, you'll see that we've given you 4 separate layouts as far as your financials are concerned. Actual versus prior per period with totals for quarters plus year to date. Current period versus year to date versus prior year. Actual versus budget versus prior year per period, etc. You click on any of those buttons and a standard default template will be loaded. And that's an important thing I'd like you to understand at this point. If you run any of these layouts, it will generate a standard report, which is going to be an interesting point when we start modifying our report. If I click on the income statement and click OK, it will generate a brand new sheet for me. Let's try that again. There we go. So my report sheet is being generated, but it's important again to remember, why is it giving me problems now? Let me do my actual. Okay, it's important to remember that this particular report is an Excel file. I've been playing a lot this evening as far as my reports are concerned. There we go. So my Excel is currently giving me some slight grief. So the layouts that I generated, I'm just going to have to restart my Excel and I'll be able to generate those reports with no problems. Here I'm looking at my current layout for my current period, year to date on that period, and year to date prior. But again, this is an Excel file. What would I like to do with this particular Excel file? One of the things that we needed to talk about was the ability to change months. Now, current period, you can see that it's currently looking at period 12. You can see that in cell D3, that I'm looking at my 12th period. To change the month so I can start seeing exactly what information happened, what happened in previous months, I go to my add-ins tool. Now, because it's a financial report, I have an additional field called Change Month. When I select Change Month, I can then choose which period I would like to look at. And when I select my period, it will then update my year-to-date actual based around that period and year-to-date prior information. I click OK. on period 1, and you'll see now my current period is period 1, and my actuals and year-to-date priors have now been updated. So I can go through it individually, looking at each particular month. But as I said, I can now start creating my own changes to this. This is an Excel file. What if I wanted to do a year-to-date actual versus prior variance column? It wouldn't take much for me to just select the cell equals my year-to-date actual for this year versus my year-to-date prior. And there's my difference. I'm doing it as a very, very basic example, but I can add additional columns in around any of the layouts. How is this important to customizing my own financials? Well, I've already demonstrated, as far as the sales report is concerned, that if you make a copy of this report and paste it, I can create and link this layout back to my original report, so that the next time I run it, I have the layout sheet that I want to see. Maybe I don't want to see certain accounts here. Maybe I don't want to see those particular 5. I can delete those. Free sent through, can the month name and the date, January 31st, print on the report whenever you change the period for the report? Yes, it can. It's just a minor adjustment to the current period field where you actually just reference the period and the date range. That's fine. Yes, you can update it so people can understand exactly which month they're looking at. Absolutely. Now, I want to delete certain accounts here. Let me just delete the ones that I've selected. I delete the entire row, and there we have it. And it's that change that I'd like you to keep in mind when it comes to that menu. Remember, the menu itself gave you standard layouts that will always generate for all of the reports. Have a look at the formula bar. I've selected cell F13. Please have a look at the formula bar. You'll see that F13 is actually referencing another worksheet. When those layouts are generated, we reference other sheets so that you can just change the structure as long as you leave those pathings to the cells alone. If you leave them alone, they'll always update with the correct information whenever you rerun the report. So even though I've deleted a stack of accounts, I've created my own column which allows me to put in variance information. If I create and link this, this structure stays. And that's the most important thing to remember here when it comes to financials. When it comes to any of the reports, if you want to make a change, you can make a copy of that report and update the copy with a new template. The structures of that template will always stay. The numbers will update, the numbers will refresh. So it's very, very easy to do that. Can we have a look at the sheet, the lookup sheet? Absolutely, Frederick. Frederick's had a look at the formula. This particular cell equals the lookup sheet going to BA70. This particular sheet is the one that reorganizes all of the raw data that comes through on some hidden sheets and reorganizes it into a massive table that makes it much easier for our sheets when we generate some layouts to review. So here are all my accounts. Let me scroll across so you can see a little bit more information. Because I've requested to look at period 1, it's cleared out other period information so you can see actual, budget, and prior. You'll see that actual, budget, prior, that format is repeated all the way across this sheet. So here's how easy it is for you to create your own custom financials. You generate one of our layouts. It will then do the referential integrity for you. It will tell you this account for this month comes to this cell. Leave those references alone and delete, adjust, alter everything else as far as the structure is concerned, and you've created your own income statement, looking at certain accounts, etc. If you want to take it a step further, if you know that actual, budget, prior for period 1 is NOP, QRS would be period 2, TUV for period 3, etc., you can then simply reference the correct account to the correct cell, create and link your template, and that's fine. The number of sheets that you create, we already mentioned that you can practically have as many sheets as you want. Would you like to see charting information as far as your income statement is concerned? That's very easy to do. You can select columns of information and then simply create a chart around it. So I can create other sheets with charting information on my financials instead of looking at the raw data. It depends on who you want to present the report to. But again, the final process is making a copy of the original report. So I've moved back to my report manager now. I'm taking my financial report, I'm making a copy of it, and I'm pasting it into my PBI demo folder. Right-click and copy. Then I'm going to right-click on my PBI demo folder and paste. Only takes a few more seconds to do the right-click, create and link template. And that means I now have a customized set of financials where I can use the change month function to look at specific months in isolation. So Randy sent through the question, how much training do we provide and how much proficiency does a user need in relation to Excel? If users can cut, copy, paste, insert a column, and do a basic calculation of that cell minus that cell, they can easily create their own income statements. As long as they understand to leave the cell references alone, they can customize the income statements however they'd like to. So, Excel. It's an important point to understand how much Excel do you need. You need as much as you have. Whatever your level of Excel is, if you can cut, copy, paste columns, that works for us. You can take the reports that we give you and you can alter them. Change things around. If you know how to change the color in a cell, you can start formatting things in your own company's color scheme. If you have more knowledge, absolutely you can do amazing things like creating dashboards, creating charts, moving them to another sheet, pasting them there, so you're creating one dashboard looking at various aspects of the business. The level of Excel that you have, you can use to create your own reports. Obviously, more skill provides better reports though. But we do give you the option of Excel courses. All right, that pretty much brings us to the end of the formal part of the presentation. As I said, the videos that we're recording of this particular presentation, the exact link will be sent to you inside of the next 24 hours. But please have a look at the website that's on the screen right now, community.alchemex.com/group/Peachtree Business Intelligence. There are going to be targeted videos there for Peachtree and Business Intelligence. But if you make your way to that community.alchemex.com website, there's a lot of information available as far as Excel functions, as far as standard report writing processes, report writing methodologies, etc. There is a wealth of information available. Jennifer sent through, how do I get business intelligence? Jennifer, I'm going to have to direct you to your Peachtree representative. You have the Quantum as a Premier Advisor. Mitchell mentioned earlier in the presentation that it'll probably be available to end users as a release in May, but I would have a talk to your Peachtree representative to see what you're going to need in order to access business intelligence. All right. So again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that you took time out of your day. I know it's not always easy as far as a business is concerned. That you took an hour to spend with us. We hope that you found it valuable and useful. As I mentioned, we're going to be running more sessions where we're going to take you through from basic through to report writing, more advanced report writing, also talking about your Excel skills as well during the course of these learning sessions. So I'm going to stick around for another 5 minutes just in case there are any other questions that come through. The questions will be recorded as part of the video, so if you do need to run off, that's okay. You'll have access to them when you download the video. All right. So again, thank you very much for your time. Look forward to seeing you soon. Frederick, I see the information that you sent through. I'm going to get in touch with Peachtree representative and get them to get in touch with you so that we can see exactly how quickly we can expedite your request. All right. Nakia sent through. I did not receive a copy of the overview and exercises. Nakia, I'll get that sent through to you as well. Not a problem. Tammy, well, thank you very much. Tammy just sent through a thank you for the presentation. I do appreciate that. And Tammy, you'll be getting a video inside of the next 24 hours. Sorry, a link to the video inside of the next 24 hours. We'll actually be emailing it to you directly, and it will be on the BI community. Absolutely. Frederick didn't get a copy of the exercises. All right, Frederick, we'll make sure that you get a copy of those as well. Free, will it be possible to get the spreadsheets that you'll be using in future classes? Free, we won't be using spreadsheets so much. We'll be using the reports that are available in the system and then running through the report into Excel. So you won't need any particular spreadsheets. We'll be creating them in the PBI module, and then you'll be exporting them. All right. So yeah, you won't be missing out on any spreadsheets at all. Tyson also sent through, also like a copy of the course information as well. Excellent. Tyson, I'll make sure that gets sent through to you as well. All right, I will stick around for another 3 minutes to make sure I get through to the top of the hour. Any other questions coming through, please feel free to send them through. John's question, if I have Peachtree 2012 and the client has 2010, will he have to upgrade to use the reports that I generate? John, I'm going to have to get back to you in relation to how far back we'll be allowing Business Intelligence to be installed for previous versions. I'm going to have to come back to you on that one, John. The answer is yes. Sorry, I've just had Carla Caldwell, Peachtree Trainer. They have to be on 2012. Okay, so they will need to upgrade. PBI then means that you need to be on version 2012 in order to get the Peachtree Business Intelligence product. So John, if you create a report for them, they're going to need to upgrade so they can install the report and run it at their own time. Thanks very much for the assist, Carla. Lisa sent through. As consultants, won't be able to actually use it until we get Peachtree 2012. That's correct. All right, that brings us to the top of the hour, so I'm going to say thank you again for everybody for attending, and those who stuck around. Do appreciate it. We'll be uploading the video shortly. You'll be getting that link inside of the next 24 hours, so please stick around for that. And yeah, again, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Chris, last question. You mentioned combining Sage CRM with Peachtree. Are we going to cover combining two data sources? Yes, we will, Chris. We'll be using, when we move on to the connector module during the training, we'll show you how you can use the connector to connect to two separate data sources. Well, more than two data sources. So you can combine all of these in and create one consolidated report. We will be covering that indeed. All right. So again, thank you very much for your time. Please Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next week for the next in our learning sessions on Peachtree Business Intelligence. Enjoy the rest of your day.